Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Show with your host, Jeff Lopes.
We are live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super stoked to have on an amazing individual with, I was just reading this morning, an amazing life story, great accomplishments. He's on the road to so much more. Anthony Trucks, what's up, brother?
Nothing much, man. How you doing, bro?
Thank you for doing this, man.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm excited. I find that I'm in good company with the previous guests and yourself, so I'm all for it, bro.
This is awesome, brother. I always start off, like I said prior, is just let the audience get to know what you're currently doing, and then we're just let the conversation flow. So give a little short run on what are you currently doing and what are you up to?
Man, so my world that I work in is, I was a speaker. Everybody was a speaker before, right?
Yeah.
And the world changed. Then I'm also a coach. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a man of God. Man, I'm a dude that does a whole lot of cool stuff in the world. But I was just talking about this. I love what I get to do, but I more so love that people love what I do. And that makes it beautiful. But yeah, the world I work in is identity. It's an interesting topic that I find that a lot of people find it to be like this esoteric kind of like spiritual thing when it's really not. Like it's something that's visible and tangible in a sense of like how we show up every day. And so a lot of my work, I'm a former NFL athlete and a lot of, just speak and talk and Ninja Warrior stuff. I'm a very logical, I got to feel it kind of guy. And so it's an interesting topic for a football player to navigate. But man, that's what I do. I help people. If we were to say, what exactly do I do? I help them understand how to use identity as the tool to achieve their dreams. That's
amazing. So there's so many areas I'm going to dive into today. So let's just take it right back from day one. So growing up, you're adopted at 14. Mm-hmm. And do you want to just start how your journey went from there to varsity football? Let's talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to get into move on from there.
Was a part of it that I think would be helpful too with the aspect of my identity. So, I was given away at 3, bounced around as a foster kid, ended up in an all-white family at 6 years old. And that same family was with them for 8 years before I was finally adopted at 14. So I've always had this interesting dynamic and weird relationship with identity that I wasn't aware of until like I became a grown man of like, oh, I've been doing that all my life in a unique way. But yeah, So 14, I got adopted. I went and tried out this new thing that nobody else, it had really takes as serious as me, but I tried football. I was like, man, I'm going to try this game that looks like a lot of fun that I do at practice and at recess. I do at recess with my friends. I'm amazing at it. So I figured I'm going to be good. I put a helmet on. Nope. Man, I was horrible, bro. I came out and I was getting hit and left and right. It just wasn't a good look. However, I got to this point where I 2 years of being bad at football, my mom being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, my adoptive mom, I had like this weird, I would call it an epiphany, but it's really just a watering of a seed. It was a moment that was an amazing gift because I checked out of football. At this time, I'm the foster kid, the son of a sick mom. I'm horrible at this game. In my time, I grew up in this family where there wasn't much diversity. So I was like the black kid who didn't fit in. So because I talk like what they call an Oreo, like, oh, you're black on the outside, white in the middle, So
that's interesting.
I had no identity that gave me solid base, but sports was like, man, if I could be good there, maybe I could have it. And this girl gave me this gift that she didn't know she gave me. It's a statement she said out loud that was a unique one. All she said was, well, the reason I'm so bad is because I'm in foster care, but to somebody else. And I heard it. And that was what it was. I heard out loud the excuse I was making for giving up and doing nothing in life. Or
how old were you when you heard that?
15. It's a 15-year-old kid, man. I couldn't even drive yet. Yeah. And it was interesting because I was like, ugh, that feels gross. And if we were given that gift, a lot of us were given the opportunity to hear that. You'd find that no matter what it is, like, oh, I didn't get a workout today. Why? Well, because I didn't want to go to the back and put my shoes on. Like that would actually pop into our head. And it's like, man, that's a dumb excuse. And it sat with me in a weird way. And I remember at the end of that day, I got home and I stood in front of a mirror in my room where I used to brush my hair. Cause back then you had to get the waves, I had to get the waves. And I remember looking myself in the pupils and I said, Anthony, you're going to be great. Like I can still see it now. Like you're going to be great. And I didn't know what it meant except for like, I was going to try to do great at football. So that was what I leaned into. And within this mix, I did a lot of things that I've found out over the years I've continued to do. And have been amazing assets to how I've been able to achieve a lot of success and teach other people to do the same. But it all started at this 15-year-old moment. And what I did is I leaned into doing everything that a great football player would do. Although I wasn't a great football player. I didn't know how to run the routes. I wasn't very strong. I wasn't very fast, but I did the things that guy does. And I thought, like, I'm going to figure it out. I'll be faster. I can maybe be a little bit better. Jeff, the next year I was a monster, dude. Like a monster. I was angrier. I was a little more confident. Not a little. I was a lot more confident. You know what it was? It was like when it was a moment in time when I was faced with this opposition, and we all have these moments we're faced with opposition. Yeah. In football, the opposition was the ball's in the air, and I'm going to catch this ball because I deserve to catch this ball. I did the work for this. And if the ball's in the air for you, you're not going to catch this ball. My job's to stop it, and you don't get to beat me today because I earned this last year. If it's tackling, I'm going to tackle you because I earned that. I get to tackle you. You don't get to tackle me. You haven't earned that. It was a different sense of what I believed I deserved. And I think that's the one thing a lot of people miss in life is like, you will fight for what you believe you deserve, period. If it's my piece of cake, give me my cake, man. Well, that's my cake, right? But what happens is so many people think they deserve so little, so we fight at such a low level.
Yeah.
And life becomes this moment where I show up to these difficult moments and like, I don't get the job. I don't get the guy. I don't get the girl. I don't get the raise. I don't get the client, right? And so and you think it's just this, I'm not good enough. No. You didn't fight for what you deserve. And in fact, you probably did, but you stopped fighting because you don't think you deserve the next level. Why is that? And a lot of it ties to who you think you are. And so what I was doing in the background, and as a statement that I gotta get this tattooed at one point, maybe on my forehead, I don't know yet. But the statement is this: what you create creates you.
I'm gonna trademark that.
No,
joking.
Don't do that. No. But it's really,
I love it. No, it's true. It hits from home, right? It's just, there's so many different ways people look at certain things, and a lot of people say it's your passion, your purpose. But I mean, finding your identity is what you're doing now is essentially what it was, right? It was just finding that moment, right? I love that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and I don't know if I found myself. That's the thing. I think people
you're
think
so young still that age, right? There's so much maturity still happening.
15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but for you to come to the realization of that at that age is pretty special as well, right? Well, some people live their whole life and they never find it.
Oh, I didn't find it at 15. I didn't find it until I was like 30. But
okay.
I started there. Yeah. That's the thing is like it started here. I didn't know what I was doing. Like I think some of the people who do great things, they sometimes just do things and don't realize what they're doing in the moment of it. Yeah. And for me, I didn't realize what I was doing, but I this entire time I was in the background creating this stronger body, this faster body. I was creating a more confident Anthony. And that's the guy that showed up because like I wasn't super fast. I wasn't like I didn't become the Flash, and I wasn't super strong. I was still a 15-year-old boy who'd been lifting weights, having no idea what I was doing. But what it was when I went out there, I had that different level of like I'm going to go a little bit longer than you, a little bit harder because I can't not have this. I can't let myself down. There's a certain level of what I deserve, and I'm going to give that little extra energy and that push. What's funny is when you do that, you start realizing like, oh, I can do this. This is actually feasible and possible. And then I want more and I want more. And then it rises. And next thing you know, you have these people that they'll tell you stories. Think about any successful person you've ever met. I guarantee yourself included.
I'm gonna talk. Let me dive into something quickly. This is really, I have a smile from ear to ear as you're talking. Something I've instilled in my kids from a very, very young age is fitness and athletic ability. And driving towards that. And that's something, if you go to my Instagram feed, you'll see my 14-year-old daughter. She's a high performance dancer, but she's a workout fanatic. She literally works out every day at 14. My son was supposed to be in a wheelchair, then put on braces. Now getting ready to run his first marathon. He boxes. His brain had to reprogram himself because he's damaged as a baby. Yeah. He's 97 pounds now, and he's throwing 54 miles an hour as a lefty, as a pitcher. Oh. And it's one of those things where I've instilled in such a young age fitness, and the more athletic you are, the better you are at sports. It's almost like a pivot for the rest of your future. I believe fitness in children is so important, and that's something I've driven, and I see in their confidence, I see in their ability, and they've learned to understand it. Like they just had their summer break, and I would come home at 10 in the morning or 10 something from a meeting, and they're working out together. They're working out 4 or 5. And which 14, 12-year-old is picking up weights and working out? And they're doing it now. So I'm hearing you and how important it was to pivoting and changing your life. And it's something I've kind of instilled in my kids since I could remember how it's going to be important for the rest of their life. And it's something I think parents need to instill in their kids because it does make a huge change in their lives, being athletic, being fit, going to school. I mean, simple stuff. You're not going to be picked on. You're going to be, if you're good at a sport, you strive better. Your popularity is better. Like, it's just, there's so much more positivity to it. Right. So as you were saying that, I had a smile on my face because I love that aspect. So I sorry to cut you off. So
no, dude, that's what we're here for. We're having a conversation, man. Put the stuff in. This ain't for me. This is for the people listening, for you, bro. Cut me off if I'm, It is. It stacks. And then what happens is all of a sudden, that's who you are over time. It's this really weird, you almost slide into it. And it's not this thing that's easy to slide into, but once you do, you'll wake up one day and look back and you'll have no idea when it happened. But you'll be like, there's this different sense of internal welling of pride of like, that's who I am. And then there's no more imposter syndrome. There's no more, fear of failure, because like, even if I do fail, like, I'm still dope. Like, I'm still, and that's the thing that's missing from the people who are that space between success. It's not the book. It's not the course. It's not the tool. Who are you with those? Yeah. When you figure out who you are and how to be the person who you need to be to have this, I tell people all the time, you have what's called an ideal identity. There's some identity that has all the things you want. If you were that, you'd already have it. But when you understand how to be able to become that identity internally, you don't even need as many tools as you probably have to achieve more of the success than you probably think you're shooting for. Yeah. We spend a bunch of money, invest a bunch of money in these things that are going to hopefully give us outcome, and it doesn't happen. But I know people who invest none of that money. They figure the dang thing out and they make millions, right? How do they do that? They're not special. They're usually sometimes not as smart as you. What is it? It's just how it's their, and really what it is, it's like, it's how they operate. That's where your identity shows up. It's your identity is who you are when you are not thinking about who you are. It's how you flow. It's how you do things. It's essentially how you operate for yourself. Run a business.
I love everything you're saying. Like, it's resonating with me. Like, I've never taken one of those courses. It's funny because I was actually talking to somebody the other day, David Miltzer, and I was joking with him, and he was on my podcast, and we were talking. I'm like, and he's talking about he has mentors and all this. I'm like, I've never had a mentor before. I've never, besides my grandfather, which you could gratify him as my mentor. He's passed now, but he was the only other entrepreneur in our family tree kind of thing. And I've never had a mentor or anything like that. And it's just, as you're saying that, I've never thought about in that aspect of your identity and all that, but it was just engraved. It's just who I am. Like, it's just that willingness to go that extra bit. I don't want to be second. I've never wanted to be second. And I tell my kids that. I did a post the other day too, just pure off topic, but I think society allows mediocrity and just being okay. And that's what being a kid does an event, or a kid does a sport, and they're given participation ribbons, which I forget. My kids come home with those. I'll tell them to throw them in the garbage. I mean, you're here to be the best you could be, right? So I love that aspect. So once again, I'm cutting you off, but I love this conversation, man. This is really
this is what we're here for, man.
Yeah.
This the thing is interesting. This whole concept is fairly new in terms of making it concrete. There's a lot of studies. I mean, I read studies every Monday at 8:00. I read for an hour and a half. I start looking up scholarly journals and articles. I want to know what's being done or what's out there. There's a lot to consume on identity.
Yeah.
No one's taken it and said, let's make this tactical and tangible. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it was waiting for me. Maybe that's the thing, is that waiting for my life to come to fruition. There's discussions on it, but people take it so far in the realm of like this philosophical. No one's made it like concrete, stick it on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've done, man. And a lot of this conversation we're talking about, it's like you see it every day, but people don't realize they see it. Every single successful person's done this, or you wouldn't even know who they are. Now, they didn't have a process typically, and they just kind of figured, like yourself, you figured it out. Yeah. There was something that happened in your life that got you there. Like the fact that you started this podcast 7 months ago and you're where it's at now.
Yeah.
People think, oh, is Jeff special? No. It's just how Jeff operates. There's something that you're doing in between the lines that they don't see. It's how you, like, the way that you work when you're on a computer, what you think, what you click, how you avoid distractions, conversations you have, who you reach out to without having any kind of shame, what you see as a level you can actually achieve. There's certain things that are just, you don't even notice them, but you do them. Yeah. And that's how you operate. That's where your success comes from. So what if I could teach somebody to upgrade to that? That was a question that spurred this. What if I could go back and look at my life and say, okay, well, how did Anthony go from the foster kid to the NFL to, opening a gym business and becoming a 6-figure consultant, 7-figure entrepreneur and ninja warrior and speeches? Like, how did that happen? Because it doesn't make sense. Let me make sense of it. Let me see what the inner workings are, where the psychology ties. And that's where my process, like the shift method, comes from, was like looking at all that and saying, oh, well, really anybody that has a breathes and can listen to this has an identity, which means you have the tool. You just have to upgrade it. You just got to utilize it differently. And then all the things you want, they become feasible realities. It's just, how do you get there? That's the thing. And so many people, unfortunately, we're investing in what marketing does, which is make it look simple and easy. Like, oh, just buy this thing. And then you just got to do 6 steps and you'll have an online business and you'll be able to make millions and quit your job and buy a Ferrari and live on the moon, like it's not.
That's I mean, I think social media has a huge aspect of that, right? Every time you put on, you stroll your page up, you're getting 10 million ads of somebody trying to funnel you with the perfect solution for $14.99 to join and all that, right? So it's that easy. Everybody's looking for that easy way out.
They all are. Yeah, there's no easy way. And the thing is,
never.
Well, there's never. But here's what I do call it. Here's the crazy. I'm gonna blow your head with this one. Yeah. There is an easy way. It's by doing the hard things. So, for example, what you do, I guarantee you, there's certain things that just feel easy. There's some, it's hard, right? It's got some effort given to it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It feels fairly easy to do half the stuff you do all day, right?
Yeah.
But there is someone who looks at you and goes, holy crap, I couldn't even get that done in a week, what Jeff does in 2 days, in a day.
Yeah, but most successful people, you get that, like you have the outside realm of people that are honest, that are good, that'll say that to you and I'm sure you get that too on a regular basis. Like, how do you get so much accomplished? Like, you're bred from a different breed kind of thing, right? So you just, the motivation drive is insane, right?
Right. It's like, it's crazy. So that's why people say, like, well, how do they make success look so easy?
Yeah.
It's not that it's here. Think about it this. Fitness. You love this. It's perfect. When you go in the weight room, there's a heavy weight there and you can't pick it up. What do? Some people leave the weight room. They would leave the weight room. And that's what the world's logic is. Okay, I can't do that right now. I'm going to leave the weight room, come back in a week. Hopefully I can lift that weight. Okay, well, how does that make sense? What do? I go into the weight room. I lift lighter weights and I consistently lift lighter. I get stronger and stronger. And eventually that weight that I couldn't pick up, that's my warm up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's how I was as a kid. When I got to college, like I couldn't bench press 225 and I warm up with that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a warm up now. And that's the thing is for a lot of people, they don't realize that's how life is the same way. So the things that you see other people that look so easy, that one time they were hard for them, but they didn't leave the gym. They found out how to get strength in that area to where now it feels easy. So it's like, there is no easy solution. No. But you can get stronger so that solution does feel easy to you.
Yeah. So let's dive into, we could go on with this part of the conversation forever here. Let's dive into college football.
Do it.
You went to Oregon?
Mm-hmm.
How was that? College football is it's a different world altogether, huh? I mean, we're from Canada here. I don't think people even wrap their head around how important college football is in the U.S.
Football as a whole.
How was the experience there?
I loved it, man. Had my son at, as a sophomore, 20 years old, met my real dad in my first collegiate start. Yeah, I have a whole lot of weird stuff.
You had your son at 20, man. You were a baby.
Yeah.
So how old's your son now?
He is about to be 16 in like less than a month. We're shopping for cars in 2 days for this dude.
That's weird.
I look like a kid. Like if I shave my face, I shaved it recently. I look like I'm 15 damn near.
Yeah. Time flies, man.
Yeah. No, it's so 20 years old, we got this high school sweetheart. We were in the yearbook, cutest couple in the yearbook. Homecoming king I was. I don't know how that all happened. But then a year and a half, 2 years later, we got a baby, bro. And we're both full-time students. I'm a full-time athlete at the same time. We made it work, man. Like troopers, figured it out. And
amazing.
Yeah, my wife graduated summa cum laude with her master's in like 5.5 years. She has a $500,000 a year profitable business that she runs. Like she's killing it. Like you'd think most of the time kids that have babies, they're not doing very much. Like they're eking by. Man, God willing, the two of us were built a different cloth, you'd say.
Yeah.
We operate differently internally. And we navigate things. But here's one thing, not always like an amazing, it's not this beautiful, like, oh, and everything was great.
It's never like that, right?
No, we got divorced for 3 years, man. We were
separated. You did, huh?
Oh, yeah.
What age did you guys separate?
Man, so after the NFL, so I went to college, had my son, had met my dad in college. I didn't know my real dad existed for a lot of years, and where he was at, found him. Different part of the story we can unpack if you want to.
Yeah, we will in a bit. Yeah.
But then I get to the point where we go to the NFL, and we're good in the NFL, and I 3 years, buy a house, all this stuff's good. I tear my shoulder, come home, my football career is done. I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I opened this gym business because my degree's in kinesiology, and I wanted to know how, like, I want to give back in a way that was given to me in sports, and I know this stuff. And 9 months in, bro, I don't know. I don't have a business. I'm a football player. I don't know. I don't have a business plan. I don't even have systems. I don't know any of the world of business. I never even owned a gym membership, but I run a gym. You know what I'm saying? Like, so 9 months in, a guy rolls up on a Harley, gives me an envelope. I'm getting evicted from the place. I had 2 weeks to figure it out, and I actually did, man. I did something that I didn't even think to do, but I hired a coach. Tell him what's wrong. Fix it. Now, at the same time, the business is trying to keep its kind of legs underneath it. I'm neglecting my family. I'm gone 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. We have twins. They were born in 2009. They're 11 years old now. So I have twins, and so my wife is at home with a 4-year-old, 2 newborns, and her husband's gone from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. Hey,
that's the personal training business is really hard hours because you're working around everyone's schedule, right? So there are hard hours. Yeah.
Brutal, bro. And so next thing I know, I'm sitting in this situation where, now my wife has stepped out on me. She has an affair, and it broke me. I mean, coming from foster care, like that was the family is the family. That's your anchor. So not having that, man, it ruined me. No lie. So now I'm sitting here. I've lost the identity of football because that's all I was for so many years, right? I've lost this massive piece of my identity. The family, man, is now gone. So now I don't have this relationship. I don't have the family. Like it's falling apart. I'm getting out of shape because I'm just stressed out and stressed eating. And the business, I'm looking at eviction. Everything that made me, Jeff, was gone. Yeah, and we all have these. This was my deepest bottom. I legitimately, there was a moment in time where a UFC fight. It ended around like 9:30, 10. And I just had been in a fog because I'd found out, and like for months I was in a fog because that happens. Like you try not to act like it's going on, and you just try to avoid it and distract yourself because it's too painful to visit. And it hit me, dude. Like my buddy walks me outside to my car and he says, "Hey, I don't know what's going on." He's like, "But you need to realize like this is your reality." That was it. Like those simple words. This is your reality. 4 words, dude. And it felt like a truck hit me in the chest, and couldn't differentiate between like physical and emotional pain, but I couldn't stop it. It was overwhelmingly like painful. I sent a text to my friends and family, said, "Please tell my kids who their father was," and I drove off. Wholly looking to find some rat poison, to be totally honest. Thankfully, it was too late. There wasn't any stores open at the time. And I remember I just stopped at the side of the road somewhere, and like the feeling subsided. And that was like the bottom, dude. I was like, this really sucks. And there's a lot that's happened from that moment on. Like I lost my mom, the business was up and down. I did the whole like divorce and custody battle and, multiple women, which took me far from my faith. And at one point I woke up on, New Year's Day, 2016 with a woman who had come over from Russia. Cause at this point, like I figured the business stuff to an extent out. I got some big contract. I didn't have to work for a few years, like made good money. And I was doing a Playboy thing and go to the Bahamas and travel around. And I woke up, dude, 2016, this woman couldn't speak. I couldn't say hi to her. She's just in my bed, a completely physical relationship. And like, I went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, very similar to when I was 15. And it was a vastly different person. Like that kid at 15 had hope, and he was like, he wanted to be great. And this guy was not great. And it was a different version of who I was. And I realized like, I would never want my daughter to ever like see me like this, do this. My boys, like I'd be disgusted if they did this. I'm disgusted at myself. Like my mom, this is not who she raised me to be. And my God would not let me into his home right now. And it was like this kind of switch of like, figure this thing out. There was a realization of I was the common denominator in all this stuff. And what it boils down to was how I was still operating. The identity of me hadn't grown past the football guy. Like I didn't figure out because here's the thing. I was buying the courses, going to the seminars. I was reading the book. I was doing this stuff, the work, right? But everything was still broken. Why is that? Like what? And so it's like, it wasn't what I had. It was who I was with that. Like, and then so when I figured that out, and like I started looking at the people around me, I started hearing this concept. People would say, "Well, when you were unsuccessful, what was going on?" Like, you know what? I was a different person back then. I kept hearing that. Yeah. I was like, what does that mean, right? And so I started unpacking more, and the more you dig, the more you find out like, those people, all of a sudden it switched on. It wasn't, they didn't have any more. They had sometimes less information, less access, but they turned into this person to where like they become the A-lister and they become the star and the multimillionaire, right? And it was like, different person. What does that mean? And so I started figuring out, okay, who am I? And what different person do I need to be to have the things I want? And that was a tear that turned into me figuring out me.
How old are you? How old are you?
This was 32. 31, 32, man. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't like this thing happened at 15. Yeah. This is, I mean, we had some craziness ensued in our whole situation. But 10 months later, from that January 16th moment, I got back with my ex-wife, and we both had grown. It was a big piece. We both grew. And there's a lot of things to navigate with the relationship and forgiveness, and, you know, the fact that like, she made a crappy choice. But I realized it took two people to get her to a place where she even felt she needed to make a choice. Like, we were young kids, 16 years old. We'd had a kid. Like, we were living life with no foundation. Our parents, both sporadic. One had passed away. My dad was kind of like with a new woman. So he's kind of like, you know, building this new life. Her mom had, you know, divorced her dad. Like, she was kind of building a new life. So there's no home to go to as a family home. We're both just figuring it out. Like, dude, it was destined to blow up. And so that's part of it. But then when we built this new thing, I say new because it was not the old marriage. I didn't want what we had. I wanted something better, and we created something amazing. And so I would go through all this stuff 5 times over for men I get what I have now. Like, we fight. We're human. Like, very frequently, right? But like, I love, to a depth of my core, the base of comfort and freedom I have in my relationship, because I know her. She knows me. We have kids that get to see real relationship. I have a business. I get to impact lives. I'm in shape again. It's like, life is really, really a good space. And that's what I love to give back to people by teaching them, how do I operate at a higher level? How do you move past that procrastination, overwhelm identity that keeps you kind of stuck? And how do you understand how to learn to operate tactically, tangibly, to do the things and take the actions that allow you to shift into that upper level identity, to upgrade that thing? Because the people that do it, like, dude, life changes. It's like that whole, like, it's going to change your life. It just does. Because if you think about it, it's a simple connection of dots.
Yeah.
When you are operating, right? It's who you are. We're not thinking about who you are. When you're operating, you're in this flow. You just do things, which means when a car cuts you off, how do you respond to that? So how do you take the energy to work, and how do you respond to people, and how do you handle hardship when something falls off, you know, the racks, and it's like, I got to figure this thing out. And, you know, how do you work when you don't want to work? Do you get 2 hours of focused work or 6 hours in because you get distracted, right? This is how you operate. You're not even thinking about it. It's just normalcy. Like you don't even, the fish doesn't know it's in the water. That's who you are. But how you operate determines how you perform. Think about like Tom Brady, the dude, when he's on the field, like, that dude's operating, right? Or like, you think about how he prepares for the game. It's how does he take care of his body? How does he exercise? How does he show up to meetings? How does he watch film? Like, you hear stories about these guys in the background. You're like, this dude just, he's a different breed, you'd say. There's a way that they do things, and they don't even realize they're doing it anymore. It's just this is my normalcy.
We're having this conversation the other day. I was having this conversation with somebody, Anthony, about a lot of people look at the top athletes in any sport and they're like, these people are genetically gifted, and it's not. You look at Kobe. There's a reason he had the helicopter. He was on the court an hour and a half before, shooting how many thousands and thousands of baskets before his teammates got there.
It's normal
at his peak. Every single athlete, you talk about hockey, Wayne Gretzky, probably the most unathletic guy. He put his work ethic was unheard of. It's that work ethic, that drive that when you said in the beginning, you might not see. The average person doesn't see, and then they understand. They're like, why they're gifted? They're genetically gifted. No, that's bullshit. It's if you put the top 20 athletes in the world at any sport, you probably could find so many commonalities of each single one. It's just the one that's willing to put the extra hours, like drive the harder, is going to just solely surpass, like Tom Brady and stuff like that, which is so important for people to understand, right?
Yeah, and it's understanding that that's not something, because it gets daunting to hear that for people. It's like, I got to work hard every day. Yeah, and if every day you're drawing from willpower to be successful, that tank will run dry. But if it's who you are to do that, it actually becomes fun. So imagine if the thing that's going to move the needle for us, you hate doing, and I think it's fun, who's going to succeed? Well, me, because I'm going to do it because the damn thing's fun, right? And there's a joy within it. And so what happens is that performance you have depicts your success. How I operate as my identity takes me to how I perform every single day and what I do, which creates my success in my career, in my relationship, and all that stuff. It's a simple golden thread. And that is what elevates your life. How you succeed gives you everything you have tangibly. internally? Like, do I have joy? Do I have peace? Do I have money? Do I have the cars? Like, what do I have? And it all boils back to how do you operate? Because if you can understand that piece, the performance comes naturally. So success becomes the second nature to normalcy. That's why you get the people who have like the Midas touch. Why do they always win? Because they're the kind of person that always wins. When you're stressed out and that thing's like, oh my, I got to do that. And they're like, yeah, it's easy. I have fun doing that. Dude, of course you're going to win. Yeah, that's what the goal is for people. And you have to work into that with a process. You got to know it's the right thing to do and strategize it and structure it. And you have to know what that looks like. Because unfortunately, some people just start doing work. They figure, oh, if I start doing things, I'll eventually get there. Yeah, but the thing is, the work I have to do and you have to do are completely different. Yeah, I could have an identical twin, and the work for the two of us is different because of how we operate. And if you don't do that first piece, understand how you're currently operating, you can't upgrade the system. You'll be doing stuff, but it'll be a waste of time.
Yeah, exactly. Can I ask you a quick question? Is my voice echoing?
No, I feel you just fine.
You hear me fine? Baby. Okay. It just seems like it's echoing. Let's dive into your dad.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's a huge shift in life at 21, 20 or 21?
12 is like 20. Yeah, 21. I think it was 21.
21, meeting your dad for the first time. And first off, is he still part of your life? Is he in a relationship?
It's part of the story too there.
Okay. Let's start with that.
Well, so I got adopted at 14 and I have a dad. My dad's like Homer in real life. He's, my whole family's white and he's a little short white guy, does welding, cool dude. He's only 12 years older than me. My dad is only 12 years old, right? Isn't that weird? Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic. He's a good dude. Love him. But yeah, man. So at 21, I have my first, so I'd come up to college from high school, and in college you could redshirt or not redshirt. And so I was coming to college. I didn't redshirt, which means my sophomore year, I was trying to fight for a spot, but I was against a fifth year senior dude, been there. This is his fifth year, my second year. And I wanted to fight for the spot. And the reason I wanted to fight for the spot was because earlier in the year, my biological grandma had given me the name of my biological dad. On the birth certificate, it always says Daniel Patrick O'Byrne. My mom is white. O'Byrne's an Irish name. So something went wrong, right? I was like, I don't know, So I come to find out my real dad's last name is Asaibovo. And it's a Nigerian name. And I look on the little internets of times and I'm like, who in the country there's like 3 people in the country with the last name Asaibovo. It's like, interesting. And so I look it up and one of the guys' names is Tony, Anthony. All my life, my mom said, don't call him Tony. That's his dad's name. But the birth certificate didn't reflect that. And I didn't know until I was like, oh, wow. So I call the guy. I'm like, hey, out of the blue, do you know a woman named Marie from Concord, California? And he has like a really thick Nigerian accent. Hello, no, I don't know Marie from Concord, but like he goes into like, but I know one from Martinez, neighboring cities. And I was like, oh, well, in 1983, I was born. He says, it's funny, in the beginning of 1983, your mom left me for an Italian man, said she's having an Italian man's baby. So she stopped talking to me. I was like, oh, well, I'm not Italian. And, and so I might be your son. And he goes, had a conversation and he goes, oh, okay. And he kind of accepted, understood what it was. And so there's a ball behind me. It's kind of blurred right here. Yeah. What happened was that year, I beat the guy out for the job. So true sophomore year, starting at the University of Oregon. My dad they lived in Marietta, Georgia. We were playing against Mississippi State. And so I got to go and start my very first collegiate start, national television, got the game ball and got to meet my dad. So cool, powerful day. Yeah. Fast forward 9 years from that moment. We had a good relationship, my dad and I, decent. We talked every year, so nothing super close. Yeah. But before he passed, because he passed of cancer at the age of like 51 or 2, he says, hey, I had to let you know, I did know about you all those years. I just didn't know how to tell you how to come out, right? Because I have a sister who's older and a brother who's younger, and they both had the same mom. So I was born out of wedlock. And there's a lot of dynamics, man. And then one thing I've learned, whether it's with my marriage or whether it was with my dad or my real mom or business partners that have burned me, it's, man, forgiveness is a very interesting dynamic and thing to kind of navigate. And I've found a very unique way to look at the world that allows me not to carry darkness or anger, and really a sense of grace for humanity, even the ones who do me wrong, right? There's always a sense of like, sadly, they're doing the best they can. Like we weren't, Because I understand identity and how we operate and how we do things, there's always a sense that most people have that when somebody does something that hurts me, they did it to hurt me. Malicious.
Yeah.
Right? And I found over the years, like, it's never been really the case for a lot of people. My mom, in her head, was doing the best she could for her kids. Unfortunately, she subjected us to torture and abuse and starvation in foster care. She didn't know. My dad disappeared. He thought it was the best thing because he couldn't be a present father. Didn't do it on purpose, affected me poorly. My wife, she did what she did, but she didn't do it to hurt me. She did it to get what she needed, right? Business partners who've stolen from me. They couldn't pay bills. They were in debt, and they figured, like, easy mark. He's not going to know it. Like, so there's little things that it's like they weren't doing it because I hate Anthony. And so when I realized that, I was like, man, like, what? How do I help this soul? Because if I can help the soul of that human, like, it'll the same thing. It'll make me feel good for helping, and they will have somebody who they can actually lean into. Like, I've created such a depth of trust with my wife and the people I've interacted with because of the fact that I do not respond the way most people do. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm a human. Like, you do something, I'm not going to put you in the same kind of place to hurt me again. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
But I can choose to alleviate that and release it because now there's something you did that I let you off the hook for. And the way that I explain what I did or why I kind of forgave you, it gives them the ability to grow. Because here's what I think so few people understand about those that you have close to you that you want to forgive. You want them to be this person. But the longer you carry the shame and place that shame on them like a board on a plant you just planted, it can never grow because the shame compacts. The moment you take that off and become the one that helps water that seed, man, that plant grows so strong. It's how you make a better world, I think. And so for me, like,
that's a great metaphor.
It's simple. It works for me in my life. And I've had some people burn me. I mean, when you're a guy that, you do things and you're out there and then, it's like, I'm a nicer guy. People try to take advantage. They just do, they figure it out. And in doing so, I realized, like, I got to keep barriers and boundaries, but some people get behind them. Some people do dumb stuff and they're not allowed back in, but I'm going to let you go and live your life. And you don't have to worry about me looking at you and poking and prodding and saying, yeah, but you burned me and you suck. And, like, I'm not going to do that. So go and grow. And I tell them, hey, go and grow, just not in this garden anymore. But realize you can't do that somewhere else.
Yeah, that's very important. With your children.
Yeah. You
have a 16-year-old, 2 11-year-olds now, right?
Yep.
You're obviously a very strong part of their life now and being with them. How is your dynamic as a father? Do you like I am one thing we're talking before we went to air is with my children is they're my first purpose. They're my first schedule.
Yeah.
And I know that you've built a strong relationship with them and you have peace in that now. Is that something where, as a father, the balance of entrepreneur and fathership, was that hard at the beginning? Is it something you found now?
Oh yeah, it's difficult, man. It was very bad. I spent more time with other people's kids at my gym when I was training them than I spent with my own kids. There was a time when that was the reality. And this is where I think one of the reasons why I talk about so many different things in life is I've just navigated so many different things. Not the easy way either. It wasn't like I wasn't even doing it to try to figure out how to teach it to people. It wasn't until I got to the back end and figured some things out. I was like, oh, I got some solutions. Maybe I should share some of these, right? But in doing so, like I had to figure out these little nuances of like, okay, how do I create a relationship with my kids that is a real relationship, not just like I'm your parent and then like disconnection, right? So how do I get to the point of them realizing they're respected as kids? So like, for example, like with my kids, if I'm wrong, like I will apologize, transparent, like, hey, I botched that, man. My bad. Shouldn't have said that. Hey, seriously, my fault completely. Yeah, and I don't know if enough parents do this. And it's not that it happens frequently because they're kids and they're like wrong 95% of the time. But that 5%, like I got to let them, because I think what happens is you want them to have self-respect, right? How are they going to have self-respect if you don't give them respect?
100%.
They get it from us. And so like I'll teach them and talk to them. And if you mess up, I'm going to talk to you. Like my son, he has this thing he does right now where it's like he just talks and then he'll answer questions that I didn't ask. Like all the time, I'm like, dude, stop. I'm asking you a question. Did you, like this morning, did you get dressed? Are you in a meeting right now? I didn't ask that question. Can you answer the question that I asked you before you ask another one? And like you see him and I'm like, look, dude, I love you to death and I'm cool with the questions, but I need you to grasp like people in the world that are around you. If you ask a question and then you answer a different one because you're curious, like you just ignore their question, they're going to think either you're stupid or you don't respect them. And if that's a boss, you get fired. You can't operate this way. And if it's a client, they're going to be like, I'm not going to have this guy's, you know what I'm saying? There's different ways, but I'm trying to teach him this. Or I could say, you idiot, quit doing, like I could shove his respect or his feeling of self-respect just out the window. But I'm parenting in a way to have conversations with the guy, to understand, have forethought about what he's doing. So I'm showing him respect, even though most parents would be like cussing him out or yell, like, and it's not that I'm better, but I realize what's going to happen if I extrapolate that feeling and that action on 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. And so in the aspect of how I'm parenting my kids and how I talk to them and the legacy I want to leave, it's like I want them to realize, like, dad was dad. He held a line. I'm consistent there. Yeah. However, I was also a human being with him. I wasn't just this thing that he controlled.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's very important for parents to take those moments and use them as lessons. And I think a lot of people, like you said, they just push it off. They don't utilize that. And the time flies. And before you know it, your kids are teenagers. And that gap. I was reading a statistic the other day, and it says 90% of the time you spend with your children is before the age of 19.
Yeah, it is. Crazy, right?
Insane. So if parents actually sat back and realized that and paid attention to that and appreciated that, they would realize that that time's so precious for the lessons for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And then when the time passes and they're off to college and they're with their friends and with their boyfriend and girlfriend, and you're seeing them once a week if you're lucky, things change. And then is that almost that turnaround for some people? Like some people, and I always say this, and I'm a very strong believer in, I absolutely hate, Anthony, when you hear people come back to us and to me and say, one of their parents pass away or a loved one passed away, and they turn around and they're like, I wish I had more time with that person. And then my first thing is, when they were here, how come you didn't spend fucking time with them?
Yeah, it's true.
And I do that. Like my parents live 30 minutes from here, and I'm grateful that they're still alive and they're healthy. And I make sure I'm down there once, twice a week, even if I have a coffee with my dad for 5 minutes to talk to him, because there's going to be a time he's not going to be there. So you want to appreciate those moments if you have them in your life and you have that strong relationships, right? So kids are lessons, man. Parents have to be active in their lives and give them lessons, because it's just going to dictate the rest of their lives for them, right? So I think it's a huge aspect. Let's dive into American Ninja Warrior. How did that all start?
Oh man, I could do the sound. Yeah, do the clay. Yeah. No man, that was an accident. My wife and I, when we got back together, we moved to Costa Rica for a little bit, and within 3 weeks, I was heading back for a speech, and someone tried to kidnap our kids from the private school. Yeah, like man on fire, super weird stuff, dude. It's a really weird story.
Okay, let's stop there. You moved to Costa Rica for how long? Did you live there?
We were there, so we vacationed for 3 weeks, and we actually went down and signed a lease for 10 months. With 3 weeks in, this is when this happened. So we lived there for realistically 3 weeks. But we were there, settled in, moved all of our stuff, everything in storage. We had nothing to come back to. Like if we come home, there was nothing to come back to at home. So we were moved, lived there. Kids were in a private school, everything was great. And then I'm heading to a speech, actually to speak on Brendan Burchard's High Performance Academy stage. And yeah, man, all of a sudden I get a call from my son. He's like, hey, Dad, did you send a taxi to pick us up? I was like, no. Call my wife. Hey, did you send a taxi? No. So I'm like, call the school. I'm like, that's not us. And there's someone's like, yeah, no, one of the teachers who's from Mexico noticed what was going on. And he went down and saw 2 men rope in the back seat and had your kids come back upstairs. So I get in the car and I'm speeding back, the longest hour back from an airport in the world, man. Just what's going on? The people are going to come back. They're going to bring guns. Like, what's going on? You get there and my wife's freaking out. The teacher's freaking out. And I'm like, okay, I got to figure this. Here's the thing. It wasn't like I was, and just hanging out in the airport. I was on the gangway. I was walking to my seat. If it had happened 5 minutes later, I am in the air. Or I'm at least in a plane. They're not letting me off. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
God put all this stuff together and and my wife was like, no, that's no big deal. Hop on the plane. Because we didn't know, we were still trying to figure out what it was. And I was sitting there and the people were like, sir, you got to go. I'm like, I get something's off. And so I was like, I'm not going to go. I'm skipping this flight, skipping the speech. And thankfully I did, because it wasn't until I got off a couple minutes later, I found out what was really going on, right? This was a weird time frame. If not, my wife's handling a kidnapping situation with me midway to San Diego and stuck in a country where I don't even speak the Spanish. I would have landed somewhere in Mexico and couldn't even have booked a flight to go back because I wouldn't have known, right?
Yeah.
So I get off, I drive back, long drive. Within 10 hours, we're on a flight all packed up back to the States. go to San Diego with all our bags, which my speech was at. We had 20 bags in a hotel room. The B crew, Brennan and his team did a phenomenal job of helping me out, just like at a time that we needed it. And came back home, man. And so we come back home. This is in the Ninja Warrior story. And we're hanging out. We got an apartment. We're like, for a week, we're just like bouncing from people's floors to people's floors because it was us. Like we're just bouncing around and figuring things out. Finally, my grandma's like, yeah, you can come stay with us. So like, we stayed at my grandma's house, which is weird. You know, staying in grandma's house with like your family, you know, in one room. Super weird. And so we finally get an apartment, you know. We're both grown-ups doing these things. We're living in this like 2-bedroom apartment trying to figure out like how to buy a house. And so we're there for maybe 2-3 months. And my wife, while we're there, I was might have been longer than that. While we're there, my wife started filling this thing out online, this application. And she didn't tell me about it at all. And then she's like, hey, I need you to film this video for this show called Ninja Warrior. Now, I completely thought it was that Wipeout show with like the people with the Asian voices and they make fun of you when you smash your face in the balls in the mud. I was like, I'm not trying to do all that. I was like, I guess I'll do a video. I do videos all the time. Like whatever, I play around, do my little thing. Completely forget about it. February, 4 months later, out of the blue, I get a call. Hey, Anthony, this is a producer for Ninja Warrior. You're going to be on in 30 days. And I was like, wow, what? Like, yeah, well, you signed up. I was like, oh, yeah, I did. And I was like, oh. And I figured it out and I looked up on what it was. And so now when they call me, I'm 6'1", 240 pounds. That's how much I weigh right now. I'm a bigger human being. And these guys are typically like 5'8", you know, 6 foot, 160, 180.
The rock climbing body.
They're all rock climbers. I was watching it last night. The one guy was like 120 pounds. Like I'm not, you know what I'm saying? The bigger guy was 190 something. I'm like, I got 40 pounds on these people. And I come from a game where you don't hang from your hands, you know? And they knew it, but they like my personal story. I have a crazy story. So I get about 7 hours of training under my belt, and I shoot down to Los Angeles and, the whole story thing, and they, talk through it. And then at the end of it, doing the whole interview stuff, like, all right, go hit a buzzer like I am. They're like, sure you are, because it's not going to, it's not going to happen. Like the football guys, it's not what you guys do, And I guess at the time I heard like, there'd been a football player to make it past like 2 or 3 obstacles and actually hit a buzzer or anything. NFL guys. I've come to find there was one other guy, but they just kind of must have forgot about him apparently. I don't know. So ends up happening is I go on the next day, first time on the apparatus. It's the first time I've ever even seen this thing in real life, right? I run through, boom, hit a buzzer.
Wow.
And yeah, so now I'm a guy that's hit a buzzer. For 3 years I went bang, bang, bang. I went from city qualifiers to city finals each year, never made it to Vegas. It's just hard in Los Angeles because there's a bunch of phenomenal ninjas. You got people who are stunt men and stunt women and people hanging out on beaches and they got no kids. It's like I'm a grown man running a business and I'm not on the beach all day doing stuff. So, but yeah, man, it was a cool experience. I retired after 3 years because my body is just like, it's gaining weight, losing weight, elbow starts to hurt. Like it's just a lot, but it was a blast, man. It was a really cool experience. And I think the best part that came from it was in the world of foster care. Most people don't know this, but if you look at any prison in America, 75% of the inmates are former foster kids. 50% of our homeless population are former foster kids. Less than 1% of those.
Crazy statistics.
Oh, it's crazy. Less than 1% of us will graduate from college as foster kids, right? We're not set up to do well. And the realistic crazy thing is you don't see a lot of guys and girls who are in foster care do anything. Yeah. Most of the time we assume that we're just like, dark, piece of the world that no one wants to be around. So in telling my story, it gave a lot of foster kids hope of like, oh, wait, like there is the ability for things to be good. And it was cool to be able to get the feedback from the world and have other kids like see a little bit of a light of hope. And so it was cool because that was like, they did the whole story on me and showed it all. So like, I'm glad that the world of kids that needed to see that, a lot of them saw it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So 3 years, I mean, congrats. Yeah, so I never obviously knew your story with it. I knew you did it. So to do it for 3 years, hit the buzzer 3 years is pretty, for a guy your size, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, I only hit it one time. But
you only hit it one time?
Only hit it one time, but that's all you need. You got to hit it one time and then you can do it.
Is that something that you ever did in the past, rock climbing or anything like that? Or was that all new?
No, man. It's
crazy.
I never did it. It's weird, man. I'll share the video if you guys want. I have the video of all that kind of stuff I did.
Is it on YouTube?
It is. I think it's on Vimeo somewhere. I have it. I can get you links. I think I have, and maybe on YouTube. I don't know. I don't think I put it on YouTube, but it's there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. So where do you see yourself with your business now? You obviously have a purpose with your business. You're trying to understand and help people find their identity. Where do you see your business in the next 3, 4, 5 years?
Oh man, doing some cool stuff. There's a couple things I've created. I'm in the process right now of creating something that's a whole separate business, because my business is wrapped around helping people reach their full potential. That's really it. Like my mom, if I think about it, my mom unconditionally loved this person that was not her blood. It's foster kid. I mean, she didn't have to. I was crazy, dude. I was a bad kid. Like I got kicked out of stuff. I was, like 16 referrals my 6th grade year. I was bad, dude, a tornado. And she just loved me through my crazy. But that is why I wasn't that statistic. And so when she passed, I made this really internal commitment to I'm going to carry her message on in a way that is resonant with me and in a way that impacts people the same way. How can I unconditionally love on the world to help them reach their full potential? And it shows up in different ways, man. Sometimes it's, me going to the corner store and having, a chat with some kid that's standing in line, or some guy or some girl. And there's just ways that I try to show up in the world in ways the world would never know, but me and that human being, right? And so in some areas, there's the business side. Like I have this thing called Creators Courses I'm launching here soon. You don't even know it's really going to be me. Most people shouldn't know. I might host it, but that's about it. But it's how do I take what we're experiencing in this whole crazy new world and find a way to connect people who need help with the individuals who want to help, where both worlds are just being thrown for a loop. Speakers can't get in front of people. People are getting bombarded with ads and stuff. It's just a weird, that's one part. The business of the personal development, we'll call it, work I do, which is helping people shift their identity. What I'm finding is right now, man, there's usually proactive and reactive shift. The proactive shift is I want to achieve more. And how do I do that? I got you, right? Because the program that I run really is in how do we get to the point of unpacking who you are, get a good feel for what's going on, how you're operating, look at how we want to get you to operate, figure out what it is you must do, and then we put a structure in place and keep you ridiculously accountable, track certain things. So it's you will achieve a goal. That's what we do. It's not a matter of if. You will achieve it. I will force it down your throat that you will win. It's weird to know. We get it done. There's so much support. But the crazy thing is, so you're going to get what you want, but I'm going to get what I want for you, which is to transform into the person who achieves. Not that I'm this person who achieved that thing and I don't know if I could do it again. No. You achieve that, and getting something at that level becomes easy to you now.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. And so when I look at it, there are a lot of people right now, that's usually proactive. Whereas now in this world, it's very reactive. The world forced it upon a lot of people you can't travel, you can't be on a stage, or you can't go take your kids to a baseball game. You can't go and run your kid's soccer team. But so many things change. And so in a few years, what I see it as, it's fairly similar to what it does now. It's teaching people how to be able to tactically achieve what they want, but not just to do it for the achievement, but to do it to become the person who achieves. Because when you do that, no matter what happens in the future, you'll be able to navigate anything you run into. That's the one thing that's weirdly unique about me. Bro, I could handle damn near anything you throw my way. And it's not because I'm special, but there is a certain way that I know how to operate, not only in the planned moments, but in the unplanned moments. That's where the magic's at. A lot of the work I do is everybody plans. I got my planner out. I got my vision board. It's all great. Cool. Now we get going. If you do, because some people never get going, but if you do get you going, something's going to pop up and you're like, oh no, handle. And you shut down and you procrastinate and it passes you by. You feel bad about yourself. And now you got this imposter syndrome and now you're procrastinating and you know what to do. I mean, my clients, a lot of them, they're smart. They know what to do, but for some reason it's not getting done.
Yeah.
And so I step in to figure that out. We clarify it, organize it, and we get them moving. And it's in the moments where it has to be mastered. It's the moment when I get the email that sucks, the phone call of somebody canceling. I get the shutdown of something, my wife cheated on me kind of thing. These happen. Yeah, and it's in those moments that I'm telling people dude, that's the space where you make or break your life. And if you have no plan for that moment, you don't know how to trigger that thing and pull that little process out of your pocket when you need it, you slide off track. Yeah. And so in years from now, I see the business, having a really specific process of consistently working people through this. I work with companies like Amazon. It's not like it's just made up stuff. We work through things, but I see it being this thing where I'm consistently work with people in the ability to work through this shift method that we utilize at different levels, whether it's going to be doing the small cohorts we do. I'll probably still have my executive high level clients. But I'd like to be able to find ways to segment pieces off to teach this to like kids who need this well before they need it.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, I don't want people to have to break their life to figure it out. Right. But I don't know exactly what it looks like, but at the moment it's coaching, it's speaking, it's putting companies through trainings. At some point when live event, the world opens back up, I'll definitely have more of the, in-person work through it, because a lot of the stuff is the structural planning of it. We sit down and we unpack it, we organize it, we strategize it, we execute, we go to work. It's real, it's tangible, but it's the after that's like, how do we keep the ball rolling? We have a very specific creates you process. It's a sheet called the creates sheet.
Yeah.
Every week we go back through and, hey, how are we doing this week? How'd it go? Because here's what it really boils down to. This is going to be like this is something people can take and run with, because it's really the magic of all of it. I said early on, what you create creates you. And here's where creation comes into play. Think about the people you got behind you right now, Muhammad Ali, Steve Jobs, Oprah, Einstein, right? What they did is so clear in front of the people's faces that they miss it. But what they did is they went through the process of like, they did this thing and it sucked at first. It was a 10 of pain. It was horrible. It hurt. This is you asking someone out for a date. This is anything that brings anxiety. Yeah, and you get that 10 of pain. And what do? Oh, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to try that again. So you go do something else. They call it shiny object syndrome. So we attest to it. It's really not that. It's like, it just hurts. And then some people say, yeah, it was a 10, but I learned this little thing. Let me try it again. And then we go and do it again. It's a 9 of pain. Oh, it still hurts. And some people quit at this point, right? Some people say, oh, I learned something else. Let me try it again. It's an 8, it's a 7, it's a 6, it's a 5. But when it gets to 0, here's the magic part. It's not like I do it and there's no pain. Cool. It's joy. Jeff, it's joy, man. Like I love doing this now. Muhammad Ali, bro, I enjoy getting out here doing my thing. Steve Jobs, I love this. Oprah, like, hey, you get a car, right? There's joy. And what is unique about that is it takes a creation to get there. Like Michelangelo, you tell me Michelangelo's David, he didn't get blisters and bust his thumbs open and get sweaty and probably pass out. No, but when he got done, he wasn't, like I'm Michelangelo and I made a sculpture. He's like, no, I'm a sculptor. That's who I am. And then lo and behold, you operate different, you flow different. And now everything we talked about, the things that were always hard for you are easy. And now success becomes second nature. So anybody out there, like if you want the simple nugget, there's a way we do this and a lot more planning around it, but you got to get back up. But the reason you get back up isn't just because you want to achieve that thing. You want to be able to get to the back end and feel and know to your core, it's who I am to achieve that thing. That's the game changer for lives.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, as you're talking, it just has that old saying about either give a man a fish or teach him how to fish kind of thing. You're essentially building. It's a simple fire. You're essentially building them to understand the process of continuing on their own once they're on their own kind of thing, right? I love it.
Ongoing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. I always ask all our guests, if you were to pass today, in a few words, how would you want to be remembered by your loved ones?
Few words, man. He's a good dude. I think I'd be the one. He was a good human. Because I think within that, when I hear good, like there's a sense of peace. Good is not a relative of good versus bad.
Yeah.
But I want people to, when they think of me, because there'll be memories my kids pop up and there'll be things we talk about around a campfire. They would, I'm sure, at some point. But when people think of me in every capacity, I want them to feel like that was a good guy. Like the thought of him brought me some joy, not some weirdness. Because think about it, some people, you say their name, you're like, I don't know about that guy. I don't know. Like they're kind of cool. Maybe they're weird. Like I want people to be like, oh yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
It's
simple. It's simple and sweet and honest.
Yeah, it's not about being like, I don't want to go heady. I want them to think about the fact that when they think of the one day there was this thing I taught them, like that's all good and well.
Why I asked this, somebody had asked this question to me before I even started the podcast. And that's why I love how it resonates. And I use that towards everybody at the end of their podcasts. Mm-hmm. And when they asked me, the only thing I answered was, I want people to be remembered as I was that guy they could count on.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's all I said. And they were like, anything else you want to extend? And it goes, no, I want them to know. And in that time of need, when they turned their back and they needed somebody there by them, I was there by their side.
Yeah.
And it's simple and sweet, right? So I love that. I love that answer too. Superpower. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
I would be able to learn anything I wanted as fast as possible, like in a snap. Because think about it.
What's that movie?
Limitless.
Limitless.
But yeah, you know what would be better? What was that one with Scarlett Johansson where she took the pill?
Elevating,
that kind of thing. I mean, I don't want to turn into a black computer chip and like die. That would suck. But no, like the idea of like, because everyone wants to fly, right? But if I could learn like physics and stuff quickly, like I could learn how to like fly with machines maybe. But like I want to be able to have like connections and conversations, and like I want to be able to learn languages, because there's such a massive world. What gives me anxiety is when I drive into small towns and I realize there's someone in this town who's never really left like the surrounding 20 miles.
And that's very often too, I'm sure.
Oh, there's people I've gone to speeches and I've talked to people like who are like, oh yeah, we haven't flown. Like a group of people like, yeah, we've never been on planes. What?
I have staff in this office that are my employees, and two of them, they've never been on a plane, and it drives me crazy.
It scares me inside, because there's never been a time in human history like now where we can travel and see and view. Like you can see things on your phone and like, I want to go there and be there in a couple of days. You could catch a flight, get a Groupon thing, get a discount, dude. With the flights nowadays, bro, you can go anywhere you want for like $20. They're all like, come fly, please, So like, dude, there's never been a time. So how could you miss out on that? It's just weird. It's not a judgmental thing. There's nothing wrong with the people in my head. But man, if you can experience this world different than anybody else in human history, and the only thing stopping you is your fear of a flight, or maybe your lack of opening your brain like that. It's confining to me, and it hurts a little bit because there's nothing I can do about it. I can't convince somebody, but it's like, oh, you guys are missing out so much on things. And what's even worse, we spend time on things that just don't matter. Like, like whether it's the politics or how my neighbor thinks about me, and obviously something there's racism going on and people are getting poked at, people are dying. It's a whole different conversation. But I mean, there's areas of life where like I do have some fairly good freedoms if I can exercise them and work hard and be the person that capitalizes on them. Dude, I can have a life that doesn't make sense to me. Like that's so good that it doesn't make sense to me. So like, why can't everybody else just settle in and like, all right.
I think people are so focused with social media, with the lives we live. They're so focused on being accepted, and their mindset is. It's funny because I'm actually doing a post. I did a video, and I'm going to post it today. Is in the name of the video. The title of the video is "Stop Giving a Shit What People Think."
Yeah,
and I've had this conversation in the last week alone. That's why I did this video. I'm doing business consulting for a personal trainer. He runs a very successful business, but his first thing is always worried about whatever gym he travels, gym to gym. He's always worried what they always think of him and what his image is. And I had this whole conversation with him, had another one, and then I even had it with my daughter. She started high school now, and we've done so hard to build her confidence. And she's
worried about everybody else.
Yeah. And I had this whole conversation with her. I go, the minute you find happiness, the minute you stop giving a shit what people think.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing, but I think people find it such a hard thing to understand, right? Which drives me crazy.
No, I agree, man. And the worst part, I think, is at a certain level, some people will hide it and say, oh, I don't care. But then they do. Like people who are like, I'm a perfectionist. No, you're just scared of people tearing your stuff apart. You're worried about what they think. Because if you're worried about perfection, it's unrealistic. And you're not perfect. So how are you going to make something perfect? Like, come on. And you're not even your customer. So like that's an issue there. And then there's the people who are like, oh no, I'm good, but like they're worried about what if I want to go and talk and speak. Have you ever posted about that? No. Live stream? Oh no. What? Why? Oh, I gotta make sure it's ready to. No, you're worried about somebody calling you out on the live of being not so good at that. You're worried about what somebody might do and what they're thinking of you. Yeah. So it's like, man, the problem is sometimes people won't even admit that they're worried about. They think it's a bad thing to admit they worry about what people think. I worry about what people think of me. Why you think I cut my hair, man? Why you think I, learned my stuff? I'm worried about it. However, you not liking me won't shut me down.
100%.
There's a difference there. Like I'm worried about it, but not to the extent that it will deter me from achieving my dreams.
Do you find a lot of people have these great ideas, and it's another thing I was talking to somebody about yesterday as well. So I mean, everybody has these great ideas, but everybody's scared to take action on their ideas. And ideas mean nothing without action. And I think that's the biggest fear is people worry so much what other people think, and they don't take the action to achieve their dreams, right?
Yeah, or there's something that there's an aspect like this. Sometimes people feel really good about what the idea could be, and then it's almost like they get satiated by that. Like somebody says, "Oh, phenomenal idea! It is a good idea, cool," and then it's like they're done. Like, "Oh, it's a cool idea." I'm done. Whereas for me, I don't even really talk about my ideas very often. I want to get the feeling of how it feels from somebody else experiencing what my idea was. Like I got this thing in my house that my wife is pissed that I still got called a love capsule. And I got a few more minutes. I got to pop somewhere else. But there's a love capsule. I was like, had this idea of like our marriage fell apart. Why did it fall apart? We lost track of the reason why we were together. And I was like, I want to make something that allows people to have this kind of like a memory and go back to good moments. And I was like, a love capsule. What is that? I don't know. Like I gave his speeches at weddings. What I would tell people is, hey, tonight it's a great day. Everything's good, but there's going to be a moment in time where it's not going to be so good. And the two you might fall apart. It's inevitable. It's a marriage. These things happen, right? And you're not going to completely fall apart, but I want you to find a way to rekindle it or at an anniversary bring together. So tonight, when you have that great emotional, loving moment feeling, write it down. Make this love letter. And what you do is wrap it up, put it together in a little bottle or envelope. And I want you to put this envelope away. And then what you do is put it with 2 glasses of wine and 2 glasses and then a bottle of wine. And then you put up your mantelpiece, just put it away somewhere. And the day that everything goes crazy, or the day when you want some great moment because everything's so great, get those little letters out, exchange them, finish the bottle of wine together.
I love that.
It's simple, right?
It's fucking crazy. But I am a visual person. So you saying that I'm getting the visual aspect of it, right? The VAK. So I'm loving it. I think
I made this. I took action. I made this. This exists. I got 500 of them sitting above me in the studio's area. Like, I got them made in China, wooden boxes, glass front. I got the love capsule trademarked. I got etched wine glasses. I got envelopes that scan on the back so you can gift it away by scanning it. And then
have you started selling this yet?
I have them. I've sold like 15 and then I took it down because wedding season kind of died off. But this exists. You can go to lovecapsule.co.
There you go. I'll put that on
CAPSULE.co. Like this exists. This is a crazy idea, right? So
no, ideas mean nothing without action.
Exactly. She just this morning was like, "Why haven't you got those out?" I was like, "I don't know, but I'm a guy that's like, I'm gonna figure it out." So maybe I spend like thousands of dollars on it and I haven't done much, but it can do it the moment I choose to. But I'm like, I want to figure, because I learned so much while doing it. Yeah. It's priceless information. So whether I sell them or not, I've made the money back and other stuff I've learned.
Or they'll be great wedding gifts.
Oh, they're phenomenal. I've already given some out. I gave them my neighbor that got married. No, I seriously have sold, I put it up, sold a few.
Have you put it on Amazon?
I have not. But I should. I've only got like 490 units left.
These things will sell like hotcakes on Amazon.
Wouldn't they? I'm gonna make a cool little video and do it. I'm not even kidding. It's a dope idea. And I got explainer videos made. Like it's pretty stinking cool. Yeah, I just haven't. But people love quirky little things like that. Those are things that people would buy. Yeah, it's only $60 too. Like it's actually.
This is like we just made an infomercial here.
On accident. You're right. It wasn't intentional, but it's
okay. I know your time is short. I'm gonna end it like this. Awesome. I thank you so much, brother. This has been a great conversation. I'm gonna probably harass you in a couple months to come back on and see how your wedding business is going.
I got a book coming out in May, man. I would love to come back and share it.
100%. Yeah. Okay, I got mine's coming out in January.
Oh, dope. Yeah, we got to do that, man.
100%, brother. I appreciate everything you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You're a good dad. You're a good person. I love your energy.
Thank you.
Your smile on your face when you're talking about helping people is infectious. So it's honest. And I want people to understand that it's very rare to actually do an interview and see somebody talking and they're glowing. They're infectious. So I love everything you're doing, brother. So keep it up. Amazing work. On our show notes, I'm going to put all the posts, everything to get a hold of Anthony, how to get a hold of him, his websites, his social media, hopefully we'll add a link to get these wedding gifts going as well. But
you don't have to, but if anyone wants to figure it out.
Thank you, brothers. Any last minute things you want to say?
Oh no, man, everybody go enjoy your days. This craziness, here's what I tell people: action ends suffering. If there's anything going on that feels awkward and you're in a little bit of suffering, you got to take an action on the opposite.
I love that. I always end off our podcast with saying always move forward. So I love that.
Yeah, I like that one.